Okay, and we're live again on another Tuesday, and this time I have a special, if I'm going the right way,
You are.
because we're talking about StreamYard just like hurts our head because you have to go the opposite way. But I have a special guest in the house. I have Kevin D. Turner. Keep on rocking. Keep on rocking at LinkedIn. So, Kevin, just in case there's somebody out there who does not know who you are, I doubt it. But, anyways, can you just briefly say who you are? Just give us a quick introduction.
Absolutely. Well, Kevin D. Turner, I am a personal and organizational brand strategist. That's what I do. I help people understand what it is, or the organization, what it is that they really bring to the table that people want. And I help them refine that. You don't create it, you help them refine it, right? And then what do you do with it from there forward? And that's what I do. It's my passion. It's been my passion throughout my whole career. So that's why I love being here, because you are incredible with video and more people need to be. So, I think that's great too.
Thank you. Thank you. And, actually, so much of video is about knowing what your brand is, and your brand is you. Your brand is you, your reputation. You probably will do a much better definition of what a brand is, because we don't know what bland is until we talk about what brand is, because they're mirror images of each other, just like StreamYard.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe that's why everybody's confused.
Yeah, we get so confused because we have to look the opposite way. So it's kind of fun. It keeps us the mental challenges going here. So it's really fun. But with video, it's not about pretending to be somebody else. It's not like you don't have to be some superstar. It's just you. And I think you are your brand. It's your unique personality, your secret sauce, your taste, what you do. And so, Kevin, give a better definition of what exactly is a brand. And then let's move into what is bland.
And that's probably an excellent place to start. And a brand is just that. It is your essence. It's what you bring to the table that has value, right? But you've got to focus it. So what I see so often and it's normal, because within our careers, we've had to do everything, right? Any ball they throw at us, we got to juggle them, keep them going. And then we try to tell that story, right? And we try to make that our brand, that we've done everything, we can do everything. To me, that's the Jack and Jill, right? Jack and Jill brand. And the end of that phrase, Jack and Jill, master of none, right? And nobody hires masters of none. Nobody gets excited about masters of none. And that's why we can't use that as a brand. But we really have to figure out, what is it that we do better than anybody else that we know, that is in demand, right? Because if it's not in demand, nobody will pay for it. We got to pay our bills. So, it's kind of finding that focus. And then how do you show that both visually as well as textually? And how much is enough? How much is too much? All those things you kind of have to work through the process based on your understanding of who your audience is. So you got to know you, and you got to know your audience. And then it's really kind of bringing those things together to really help them understand what you do better than anybody else in a very simplified way. And so that's your brand. Right?
I love it.
Bland is what we do by accident, sometimes inadvertently. We just don't fill out the profile, or we use a bunch of adjectives, or we give them no proof, right? I'm the world's greatest at, and that's it. How do I know that, right? There's no proof in there. And visuals are not backing things up, or we're using the wrong visuals, or maybe even the wrong text. And to me, that's blanding. And I always look at it, if you're throwing a big Super Bowl party, right? You need chips. So you go to the grocery store, you go immediately to the generic ones, because you can buy them in bulk, right? They're worth a dime a dozen, and they're cheap. And so that's what happens when we do kind of this generic approach. We become just that, the bag of chips that nobody really wants unless they're having too many guests over, and the guests are going to be drinking anyway, so it doesn't matter, right? They're going to eat the chips that I put out there. I can have now barrels full of chips instead of a couple of bags. That's what generic is. And if we're building our career, right, we don't want to be that bag of generic, because that means the company is going to pay us very little, and they're going to see us with having very little value. And that's not going to get us where we need to go. So that's why we got to step away from that blanding in that sense. And hopefully people get that, you know?
Well, and I wonder sometimes, you know, because it was funny. I was showering this morning because I do my best thinking in the shower. And I was wondering, like, I thought about myself and I was bland. I was vanilla. I was the no name chips when I started on LinkedIn. And it was because I didn't know what to say. I felt like everyone knew the rules but me. And so I uploaded my stuff and I was just like, I don't know what to write in my about section. So you end up just writing something very weird in the third party, you know, third person. You grab your resume, you just kind of go, "Oh, I was a technical writer." You just kind of word for
Paste
word
it in, and
yeah, because you feel like I don't know if I have anything to say. So I'm wondering if sometimes being bland is because we're not confident or we feel like we just don't have enough information. We don't know the rules, so we feel stupid. So you don't want to stick out doing the wrong thing. So you end up being vanilla so that nobody goes, what are you about? You know?
Yeah. And to me, that's half bland, right? The total bland is you're so afraid to do anything that you do nothing, right? You open up a LinkedIn profile, you don't put your picture in there, you don't put a background, you don't really say anything more than, you know, position at company. You don't fill in anything under the work experience outside of a job here at this company for this amount of time, and that's it. That to me is true blanding, right? You are so unsure that nothing will work. At least where you were or where you started, you put something in there, right? So that to me is better than nothing.
Right.
But it's not going to make you stand out from the crowd.
Right.
And that's what we need to do. And you know, this whole concept of productizing ourselves so that we sell better, right? That more people want us, you know, in that sense, it's become really critical in the digital age. And so those things have changed. It's not really about, you know, you as an individual. People know you, they see you, you walk, you talk, you know, you're amongst them. They can get a feel for that brand. And you know, in real life, your brand is kind of your reputation, right? It's what people say when you're not in the room. Well, LinkedIn is your room. Now you've got to tell them what to say because not all of them know you, right? So you've really got to kind of get the focus. The digital world has such incredible reach. And, you know, if you do it right, those opportunities that you never thought possible will find you.
Yes.
And so, you know, that's why you've got to really focus on it. And it isn't easy, you know?
No.
But think about it in that sense. I think the best way I can think of a LinkedIn profile, right? If you thought about how you might walk into a bookstore, you're looking for a book, right? If you're looking down the you know, shelves of books and you're basically seeing the spine, right, of each book. On that spine, you might see a name, you might see a subject, right, or a title. You might have a picture on there, right? That to me is basically like your LinkedIn profile. That's your top card, right? It's got your name, it's got your headline, it's got a little bit of information about you. It needs to be exciting enough so that somebody will grab that book and pull it off the shelf, right? Yep. Now, what's the next thing you do when you pull a book off the shelf?
Thumb through it.
Do you thumb through it or do you look at the back cover?
Or you look at the back, you're right, to get that quick synopsis.
That back cover, that synopsis, that kind of tantalizing, right? You got to buy this because this is the kind of stuff you're going to get if you do. That's your about summary and your feature section, right? It's the back of the book. It's the one that makes you go, wow, if all this is in here, I'm going to buy now the whole book so I can read the chapters. And the chapters are your work experience. They're a little drier, right? But you want to get them fired up here so they can get down there and say, I need to know this. And, you know, people have a tendency sometimes in their summary, tell too much. It's a tease, right? You're trying to get them to say, oh, you didn't tell me everything, but it was so interesting. I need to now buy it or buy into it to find out more. And that's where they get down and they read into some of that nitty gritty. They may even learn things they didn't know. Right. And that's why it is, to me, like a book, you know?
I love that.
You really
I love
want
that.
to get them buy into everything. And that's how I think LinkedIn is designed, same way.
Yep. And I love the analogy of like, don't tell everything, because it's just like with a book. It's like, I don't want to read in the back of the cover
And be
and
done.
the hero dies. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, don't do that. Don't no spoilers, no spoilers.
Yeah.
And your testimonials on your LinkedIn page, they're kind of like those reviews, those kind of nice,
Absolutely.
catchy reviews that we would read on the back of the book. This is
And
brilliant.
the skills are the categories in the bookstore, right?
Mhm.
So if you're good
Yeah.
at fiction, that's there. It's sales, it's marketing, whatever it is. Those are the skills that are going to lead the people to find you in the section you're in. But you've still got to stimulate them from there forward to kind of buy into you. And so I love
Good.
that. I think that's, to
Good.
me, makes a lot of sense in how we put things together. And
Yep. And we do judge a book by its cover.
we
You
do.
know, truly, it's like
do.
that's one of the things that we know in marketing. It's like, don't do your own cover because you'll probably do a crappy job. Go get a professional. It's so true. It's like you go, who'd have put these two colors together? And what font is this? It's Frankenstein font. Like you don't want to have that. So, and you want to have probably a good photo on the back because we connect with our authors when we see their photo.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
this is all part and parcel of it. I love that. I love
and to me it is fascinating as we are kind of building this product of us, right? I see so many people who will have a nice background photo, and let's say it's bright green, and then they're wearing something in their photo which is in a direct clash to the bright green, and it's like you would never see an ad like that in a newspaper or on TV or anywhere else where they had clashes, in that sense.
Right.
Especially with guys, there's not a lot of options for business formal, right? You got a couple of different color ties. Well, get a color tie that matches your background photo, right? Try to unite some of these visuals, in that sense, and really critical. But I get what you're thinking. Same thing to me. If you're going to bring in some of these new features on LinkedIn, like cover story, I believe that if you're going to go into a cover story, try to capture your profile picture from your cover story. So you don't go from this profile picture to this 3-second review that doesn't match you, right? And then they go into the profile, they don't pull together. So I think the best cover story is where you actually match that profile picture from the cover story so that when it transitions, everything fits. People don't get this odd feeling of what just happened. I always say that I have Jekyll and Mr. Hyde days, right? My profile picture might be the best picture I get. My video picture might not be as good, but if you have that off and on kind of effect to it, it makes people uncomfortable. So always be thinking about those kind of things.
That's interesting. Interesting. And I actually helped somebody with their profile the other day. And for, you have 3 seconds, the first 3, and this is a little video tip. You have 3 seconds to think about the transition from your profile to your video. And this person's cover story that I put in their picture for 1 second so that there'd be a bit of a transition, because then it would be something different. So consciously had to do that, but you really do have to think it through. Or if you do make a different one, just know that could be an advantage too. So for instance, with me, I have the dreaded sunglasses, which I cannot get rid of now because that has become my brand, my sunglasses. I use it with my Bitmoji. So I'm just like, I'm leaving it forever. But when I have my LinkedIn cover story, I don't have my sunglasses on. So it's kind of like you transition from Jillian with the glasses off. It might actually be better if I
take them off when you go
in that first 1 or 2 seconds, so that somebody would go, "Ooh." And I think that's another thing with the cover story is that if you have a little bit of change, then at least people notice it, because that's the thing. People could come to your profile and not even catch that that it's changing. So but
I think the key is be aware, right?
Yes.
Be aware of those kind of transitions and the messages that the pictures bring into our brand. And people don't realize, video and pictures, still pictures, we process those things, 40,000 times faster than we process text, right?
Yep.
We have preconceived notions and thoughts and things that they bring up and memories that are rolling in the back of our head when we see these things. And we're already determining things based on that. People don't realize that. And the other piece of it, if you believe the adage that a picture's worth 1,000 words.
True.
Right? If you leave that picture up on your profile, it's telling people 1,000 words 24/7. It better be telling them the right words. And
Wow.
so easily people forget that the message they think they see in the picture may be a different message than everybody else sees. One of them that I see that happens often is downtown cityscapes.
Right.
So if you've got a downtown cityscape and a recruiter's looking for people who can grow with the company, you might not be the one who's going to be able to go from, let's say you're in Dallas, downtown, beautiful, right? You may not move to San Diego to grow with the company. So that might be the perception that they have in the back of their head. So we want to be careful with those things. I've seen so many great beach pictures, and I love the beach. And then I saw one the other day that was fly fishing in Montana. One of my most favorite experiences that I've had, was doing that with a couple of guys. And it was fun. But what that tells a company is, if you can't find me, I'm probably on the beach or I'm fly fishing, or I'd rather be doing this than doing what you need me to do, right? So there's those messages behind it. We want to make sure that, again, they fit the brand, and they don't bland us. They actually improve what we're doing. If you're in a technology field, find a tech background, right? Something that says cloud or
zeros and ones or something.
Exactly. So, get that message in there. And I always say, don't just use a standard visual, add things to it. Put your name in there, put your contact information in there if you're comfortable. Nice thing about that is the bots can't steal that because it's a graphic, right? Yep. But it can get that across and it can increase contact. And then, if you had a statement or a line or something from your company, that can help. And, interesting enough, as we're building these personal brands, right? Sometimes when we up our profile too much, the company gets worried. They're like, oh, wow, I can tell Jillian's going to get out of here pretty soon. She is priming the pumps, right?
Right.
If you can take some of your organizational brand and bring it into your brand, mention it maybe once or twice in the about summary section, right? Bring it into that background photo, right? Bring the logo in there. What happens is the flags drop at work. Like, oh no, Jillian, she's all about our brand. She is so company loyal. We don't have to worry about her. And here's the beauty of it. It's a double-edged sword. Not only does it cut great on that side, but recruiters who are paid to steal you away from the competition, they get doubly excited too, because what they can do with that, they'll spend 3 minutes on the phone with you, right? Oh, yeah. Jillian, I thought you might be interested because you've got such a background. You may know somebody, right? They talk. What they do on the other side to the company, they say, we know Jillian so well, and she trusts us so much because we have such a great relationship that I can steal her away from her company. Because look at her profile. She is so brand loyal. I can steal her away, bring her to you, but you better take care of her. You better pay her right because I'm getting a commission off what you pay me, right? And so they use it as a way to sell you to them, because that's the number one thing companies do when they pay a recruiter. They create what we call the purple squirrel definition, right? Nobody's ever seen one. Bring me 3 by Wednesday, right? Part of that purple squirrel is always steal Jillian away from the competition and bring her to me. If you look like you can't be stolen, that's who they want to bring.
Wow.
Because they don't have to fight it, right? And so it becomes part of a brand that keeps you safe at work and makes you more attractive to decision makers outside of work. So kind of fun when you can get a little piece of your brand to do both, right? And
absolutely,
that's important. And people sometimes think too about that. My personal brand. If I take it from this bland to brand, my company's gonna freak out, right? So we know how to solve that now. But the other thing is, sometimes within our company, they don't really know what our potential is, right? We may have a boss who hasn't told them. We can now tell them. So when HR is looking, when the CEO of the company is looking, they're going, wow, I did not know Jillian could do that. And she's done it before and there's proof.
Wow.
Let's get her in. Let's move her up, right? So it can actually create opportunities in your own company. And to me, that's exciting because why not, right? If you like where you work, you don't have to leave if you can get them to see you differently. And so that's part of that, taking control and really refining your brand so it moves you forward. And I always tell people, make it so it moves you forward. If there are things you did in your past that you really don't want to do again, don't make them part of your brand, because it is kind of a marketing process, right? That's what your profile is. It's a marketing piece. I always look, many years ago, I did several startups through a venture capital group, and I was always really good with numbers. And so somehow, and this was pre-software, I got assigned payroll and taxation. Very complicated. If you do everything right, nobody says thank you because you paid them, right? If you get it wrong, they show up at your door on Friday night and they say, we got to go back to the office. Happened to me once in 4 years. I gave the individual money and I said, well, this hold you over till Monday because I'm not going back. But you will never see in any of my brand presentation, you will never see taxation and payroll because it doesn't move me forward, right? So focus that brand on what moves you forward, what gets you to where you need to be, what you want them to know. It's the same thing. Product, car companies, everybody does, right? If you have invented the fastest car that looks really great and corners really well, but the seats suck, you don't put in the front of the advertising piece, the seats really suck, but you like everything else, right? Let them find that out.
That's great.
With what moves you forward and bring those things up and simplify that message. And, people will be in demand of you. And so, that's why we should do it.
It's so empowering. That's so empowering. I love it. I love it. I noticed that we have some comments. So let me just hop over the comments. Oh my goodness, we have a ton. Okay. So let's start at the top. Okay. So,
Tina.
Hi. Hi, Jillian and Kevin. Greetings from Belgium. You rock. See, we're always rocking it, Kevin. We're just rocking it. Watching you guys from Toronto, Canada. Awesome.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Love Toronto.
Woohoo. Two of my favorite LinkedIn rock stars. Always the
Superman.
Hello from West Palm Beach. Such great lunch dates. Thank you. Oh, that's cool because it's lunch there. Yay.
Yeah, now she's making me jealous because she's on the beach.
Woohoo. Speaking of brand, how about this golden lady? She's got an awesome brand. Hi, Jillian,
Fabulous.
Kevin, and friends. G in Frisco, Texas. Awesome.
Hey, G.
Masters of None. Solid food for thought during this lunch hour. One example of bland that I see is listing 25 specialties on your profile. That's interesting. That's true. That's like your skills. If you have so many skills, and for the most part, people really are only endorsing maybe the 3 that you're showing. Isn't that true?
A lot of it is that way. Skills to me are fascinating in the sense that, if you actually have 50, you could probably put them in there. But if they don't kind of unify in some way and move you forward, don't put them in there. And make sure you're not putting ones in that cannibalize each other, like marketing and marketing strategy and marketing campaigns, right? Because you're just going to split the votes up, so really focus on what your core is. But the funny thing about skills on LinkedIn is they are really used by the recruiters in their search process through Talent Solutions. So they will hit skills that are already preset, and those are the skills that come back, and you do get rated on how many people give you, your skill, right? So if they give you your skill, if you've got 10, you're not as good as somebody who has 100, right? Unless that 10 was by 10 other people who are also highly skilled at that skill. And that could be equal to the 100, but it is highly used within LinkedIn. So sometimes I think, yes, it can be confusing, but sometimes it might be necessary in the database function of LinkedIn to be
and the searching.
Yeah, just make sure you're using the right ones and you're not cannibalizing each other. Sorry.
Yeah, I only kind of found out a year ago that I could actually pin the ones that I wanted to the top, and that was just like, well, that's the best kept secret on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. I
Well,
didn't know
and
you
you
could do
should
that.
unpin and repin another set.
Like rotate them,
Yeah.
rotate them.
So that you get, because that's what people have a natural tendency to do. They come to your profile, they like you, and they'll give you the top three. Well, if you change out the top three, they'll come back and they'll give you another top three, right? And it works. So it's a nice way to kind of build some of those skills that you do need to get out there, but nobody's going down the list to find. And it gives them a little bit of more sunshine, shall we say.
Exactly, exactly. Stephanie, you've just said about all of these things to me. So we don't know who Stephanie is, but she's right because we agree.
We need to know who Stephanie is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Love the generic. It's so true. And I love your post that you did the other day, Kevin, where you had like a milk carton on. And it was kind of like, do you know me? Kind of like, and it was the generic LinkedIn photo. And, and is that like probably the number one mistake of either people are not putting a photo or they're not making their photo visible?
That's, I think, more so than the not photo, because people who don't load a photo really don't care to be found anyway. But people who've gone to the effort of putting their photo in, but then they've left that privacy and settings basically at do not show beyond my first level contacts. First level contacts already love you, right? You got to get some love from all those other contacts, all those other people on LinkedIn, and they will not respond to you without a photo because we're humans, right? And we build trust visually very quickly. That goes back to that processing of a picture, right? And so without that, I can't really trust you, no matter what it says. I need that, right? Nope. And so that's a huge mistake and happens more often than it should.
And we actually had some people like this LinkedIn Live before we went live that had no photo. And we were like, that's kind of meta.
And I will bet that's what's happened to them. They have it,
just
and they
doesn't have that setting turned on.
From their side, they can't see it off unless somebody tells.
How do you know? Like if somebody is sitting out there today going, eek, are they talking about me? And we will not name names because we would never talk with anybody about that. But if how would they know? They just have to go to their privacy settings and just
go to the privacy settings. There's a area called visibility. And it's going to be in visibility about 2/3 of the way down, and it will be your profile picture. The other way is if you go to your profile, you can actually click on your profile picture and then down to the bottom, I think it's the bottom left, there'll be a little eyeball. It says visibility if you put your thing over, and that will take you there as well. That one's probably easier to find, but
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely check it.
And speaking of which, too, with these LinkedIn cover stories, these video cover stories, you can actually have that set for everyone or just your first level connections. Mm-hmm. And I highly recommend let everyone see you because, why keep it secret? It's kind of like if you've gone to all the trouble of making a video, have the whole world see it. So
absolutely. That's where the opportunity will come from.
Yeah. I love the potato chip analogy. It's so good. It's so good. And, at the end of the day, there's certain things like our potato chips. We're loyal to our potato chips. I'm a Ruffles gal. Ruffles must have ridges. I grew up on that. I like my French onion chip dip. It's a thing. I like name brand. I like Dean's. It's like they all go together. So it's like I don't really want to go buy the generic ones, just unless you got a bunch of people over. They're all going to be.
It's a budget thing.
Exactly. Laughing right now at the unwanted bag of generic chips. It's so funny.
That's why nobody ever puts the generic bag on the table, right?
Right.
If you buy those Ruffles, you'll put the Ruffles bag out, right? And just snap it open and people can reach it. You never put the generic bag out there or the generic beer, right? You pour it into a glass. They never see that part.
Exactly. Okay. You're doing so many lives, Jillian. It's awesome. Hello from Ludwigsburg, Germany.
Beautiful place.
She's doing great videos, by the way. I saw one of her videos this morning.
I've seen some of her stuff.
Awesome. Adam. Oh, we love Adam from
Mhm.
Clubhouse. I met Adam on Clubhouse in your room, in your Clubhouse room. Generic has its time and place, especially for commodities. However, if you wish to differentiate yourself from this sea of sameness, what a great quote. You need to be much more than bland, but rather with a standout brand to be top of mind. Wow. Well said. Well said.
Absolutely. He's a sharp guy
Yeah, that's
and
one of
fun
those where
to
you
collaborate with. So we
yeah,
love that.
and that's one of when like LinkedIn now has this like turn your comment into a post. That's actually a post. It's
Yeah,
really a good comment. It's a great
absolutely.
comment. It's so important to stand out from the crowd, be known for your expertise, and share the value. Opportunities will find you. That is so true. And it doesn't matter if you're a corporation, small business owner,
Mhm.
job seeker, working at a company, corporate employee. You can be just the guy who drives the taxi. It's like, your specialness, your uniqueness. I kind of fell victim to that at the beginning, thinking that your brand was only for companies, not for people. But
Mhm.
that's not
Mhm.
true. It's for all of us. It's for all of us. So let's see. I'll do one more. Okay, Tina, preach, preach. Okay, and Jeff, nobody has the time to read cover to cover. You have to provide them with the Reader's Digest to get them to want more. That's so true. And I remember growing up as a kid reading those Reader's Digest abridged version of books. It was so important. It was so important.
Mhm.
So we probably should wrap it up, Kevin, because we did hit the 30-minute mark, and I try to keep it within 30 minutes so that somebody can watch us and go to the gym and get exercised and all sorts of good stuff. So takeaways, what would you say is sort of the number one thing that, like, action item, what would you leave people with? What would you say, go do it now, besides follow Kevin? Follow Kevin.
We love that, but I think it is be impressed with yourself. You got incredible things that you do that nobody else can do. Don't be shy about letting people know what those are, and embrace that, because that's where good things happen. So I'd say do it, much like you started. You started somewhere, right? You didn't leave it blank. You started somewhere, and you will get better at it. And if you trust others, find some people to give you some feedback, that you trust, and know that feedback doesn't mean you have to change every single thing. Yep. And you ask 10 people, they'll tell you 10 different things. If you're always chasing that doesn't really work. But if those 10 people came back and every one of them said, or let's say half of them said, this is an issue, then that's something to look at, right? You don't need to be rearranging deck chairs on the ship. You need to be guiding that ship. And, that's one thing I always tell about feedback, but find feedback, because we are somewhat blind of our own selves. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they'll even come back and say, you know what, you're even better than that. You do this. And you don't like, well, really? I didn't realize that. They do. And so take that feedback and incorporate it and trust them as well.
Yes. And don't discount your own talents. Just because something's easy for you does not mean it's easy for anyone else. That's just your gift. That's your brightness. So awesome sauce. So thank you for being here today, Kevin. And we'll go back and respond to all the comments afterwards. And just thank you, everybody who joined us today. This was a great episode, Kevin. I want you to come back. So,
Jillian, I loved it.
Great. I think we could talk for hours. So this is great. So we'll sign off, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
We'll see you.